At this point, we're talking about bragging buddy duos or trios that have completed the boot camp meetings, as well as enough face-to-face meetings to create referrals, implementing systematic visibility. Okay? So the bottom line is that we want you to focus and slow down with one other person and start creating referrals with that person. And only at that point, really, do we advance into lesson plan number 6. Up until that point, let's keep the fun in the fundamentals and create referrals with one bragging buddy by doing those accountability pieces, okay, that we talked about earlier. And I'll just bring those up real quick to beat a dead horse, okay? If you haven't done these things, you're not ready for lesson plan number 6. But if you have, now you're really ready to start exploding your results by forming a power team. So what we're going to do for the next half hour or so is we're really going to dig into the contact sphere tendency matrix. We're going to look at some of the relationships that we were just looking at on that roster worksheet. And then we're going to go into the details of what are the agendas to get started with the other person and make it real step by step. So the webinars that cover the material that we're doing here is webinar number 12. And as you see written out, webinar number 12 was recorded in 6 parts, one for each contact sphere. So it's the same material, but what I do is I talk to you as if you're in the business services contact sphere and that contact sphere alone, or event services specifically. Each webinar is specific without talking necessarily from the vantage point of the other contact spheres. That's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to give you an overview from all 6 contact spheres, and that's going to be the focus of the PowerPoint that we're going to look at now, and then that's webinar number 12 in your DVD set, and then number 13, the webinar number 13 is the planning meeting that we'll be looking at also. So at this point, we're on page 24. And we're ready to take a look at webinar number 12, the contact sphere tendency matrix. So we talked a little bit about the tendency matrix on the roster success worksheet, and the ideas we mentioned is we're going to really expand into a power team pioneer group of 4 to 6 people that we can really start creating referrals systematically for. So I'm going to now go through this tendency matrix and kind of break it down. You can see it on page 24, and basically on the left column we have the contact spheres, and across the top we have the key situations. Now that roster success worksheet that we were just looking at is set up exactly the same way, and so this is a real drill down now on hopefully getting you to see some things from different angles that maybe will make you relevant to some of these other key situations, or make some of the other people in your BNI chapter relevant to the key situation you're focused on. So let me really emphasize a point that I'm becoming increasingly aware of how important it is. When you're thinking about your number 1 key situation, as we were talking about earlier on that roster worksheet, your number 1 key situation is really where you're going to put your focus on who your bragging buddy selection is, and when we get to advanced visibility with these live events or newsletters and LinkedIn groups and things like that that we were talking about, that's where you're going to put your energy in your number 1 key situation. But if you have a business that can be relevant to many of these key situations, your job isn't necessarily to join every power team, okay? Here's the key point. Your job is simply to show those power teams how you can be relevant, okay? And let them promote you to that target market. So if you do, well, let's just let the roster tendency matrix do the work here. Let's say you're in business services, for example, and that's where we started. The tendency is, as we go from left to right, that business builder is going to be number one. Real estate, because there's so many different businesses involved in buying, selling, new construction, and property management. A lot of real estate activity needs the business services, business categories, and relocation, because businesses moving into town will need the vast array of business services, business categories. But what we do, as we were trying to do on that roster success worksheet, is if you've identified that the business builder is your number one, you go from top to bottom and identify which other contact spheres might have members of the chapter that would be good bragging buddies for you. Event services, we just talked about how the caterer, the florist, can help with client appreciation events, product launches, open houses. So you would look at event services as a potential bragging buddy. Same with personal services, because they have products or services that aren't just to help the business builder build the business, but help the business builder with their busy life. Things like maybe the personal chef or the pet sitter. Other various personal services can be a great networking partner for the business builder key situation. And then also, they're not on the matrix that's printed out, but if you are in real estate and finance, or you're in health and wellness and you understand how your products can give the business builder more energy, focus, and stamina to build their business, or even property services for businesses that have a location, go ahead and put an X there. We don't want to exclude you. The idea here is that as you go through this matrix, you're going to go from left to right and then from top to bottom to see who you could be networking with. So we're still on business services, and we looked at one of the other key situations, which is real estate, and then who's driving that key situation? The real estate and finance contact sphere and the property services contact sphere. So these are potential networking partners if you're going to gravitate towards real estate. And then relocation would be personal services as a potential bragging buddy. So it's a left to right, top to bottom sequence for you to see who you would be networking with. So in this case, personal services, that's real business builder is their number one key situation. So that would be a clear indication of who you might choose to network with. But feel free to be creative. And particularly if you're in the business builder key situation, what we're finding is that the real value that you have in terms of Power Team Certified for yourself in the chapter isn't to try to make the other Power Teams aware of how you can be relevant to a new baby or somebody getting healthy. That's probably not the best fit for you. If business builder is your number one key situation, your energy should not be into fitting into these other situations. It should be how are the other people in my chapter relevant to my client, which is the business builder. And if you have health and wellness people, or event services people, and clearly personal services people, get to know those people and start promoting them with the tools and systems that we're giving you. Okay, so business builder is a very key challenge area, particularly with chapters that are heavy with business builder. Other chapters that have some of these other contact spheres that we're going to look at have more of a diverse view sometimes. But in your region, you may have chapters that are exclusively business to business and don't allow business to consumer. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful for anybody who's trying to build that kind of a chapter or that kind of a power team on how to integrate the other people in the group. Okay, so now we can look at event services. Number one's getting married. Number two might be business builder, new baby key situation, and then it's the same process, just going down from top to bottom. If getting married is number one, who else can be relevant? Let's promote those people systematically to our clients who are getting married. Okay, so this is the methodology that you can use, and I could go through all kinds of examples and beat this thing to death as we say, well, see how the pattern breaks down for getting married and new baby. Aren't those very similar to each other? They sure are. And the key here is health and wellness when it comes to new baby and event services when it comes to getting married. Okay, so at this point you've seen this stuff before, and now you're starting to see some of those patterns. Remember at the very beginning we did that numbers exercise and we drew it into quadrants, and by golly, if you would have known those quadrants ahead of time, you could have won the $500 prize for being the first one to go from 0 to 60. Well, this is a real point now where you can start seeing some patterns with your own BNI chapter. And if you'll complete that roster success worksheet, we can make some sense of not only who's in the group to network with, but what are the strategically important open business categories that we want to attract. And it's just important material. So I think what I will do is, rather than go through all of these contact spheres, I'll let the DVDs do that. As I said, we have 6 recorded DVDs for lesson plan, 6 recorded webinars for lesson plan number 6, and that would be the best way to get into the nitty-gritty details. And we're going to move on to the next page, where I guess page 25 is just asking the question, based on the contact spheres that you've targeted, which business categories do you want to attract? And so again, we're just looking at that 6 contact sphere matrix. So we're off to the races with page 26, and we're going to take a detailed look at the Power Team Planning Meeting. So this is webinar number 13 in your DVD set. And again, this is about people who have completed their boot camp meetings and now they're looking to expand what they're doing with new bragging buddies. The idea is you'll continue the weekly one-to-ones and you'll hold a Power Team planning meeting. So that's what this is all about, is the planning meeting. And so just letting the material do the work. You've identified some contact spheres that also do business with consumers who are in your number 1 key. Now's the time to identify other people in your networking group who've, hey, does this look familiar? They have done some of the accountability pieces. They've completed their boot camp. They have the same key situation as you, and they're ready to get started. Okay, so this is where that roster success worksheet and the bragging buddy tally sheet becomes important. And so each of you now, as you go forward with Power Team Certified, will be a leader in your chapter. And you'll be recruiting people into Power Team Certified who you think would benefit from the program, hopefully making it visible to the chapter so people can see an opportunity for themselves on building their business through Power Teams. And somebody there, whether it be the education coordinator, the mentor coordinator, if your region is using mentor coordinators, perfect candidate for gearing up Power Team Certified, particularly with the bragging buddies. Okay, let me go off on a slight tangent here. The mentor coordinator is tasked by BNI HQ to match up folks in the chapter who can benefit each other, typically a seasoned veteran of the chapter and a new member. And so the matching of chapter members can be strategically implemented beyond who is seasoned and who's new, into who has matching key situations and who can be good potential bragging buddy Power Team partners. So as I said, chapters that 75% or more of the group buys in, purchases, invests, whatever word you want to use, get started with Power Team Certified, 75% or more of the group are in. Then we include the education coordinator materials and some 10 to 15 minute workshops that you can do to really mobilize everybody in the group and fly in that V formation like the flock of geese that we talk about as the Power Team analogy. So anyway, this is where you're at in terms of who is ready for this meeting. And then here's the agenda, and it's very, very simple. Okay, bottom line, the bragging buddies are going to select a leader. Okay, select someone who will simply run the first meeting. Doesn't have to be a lifetime position. Okay, but you're going to get together. You've identified another duo or trio that you want to form Pioneer Group with, and you guys get together for your planning meeting. about a 5-minute meeting, maybe 10 minutes. Who's going to run the meeting the next time you get together? How often will you guys plan on meeting so you can start booking your appointment as in terms of when you're going to get together, and then select a new bragging buddy for your boot camp meetings. So who will lead the group when you get together? What will be the frequency, particularly when are you going to start? What's the start date? And then now that you've come together with another duo or trio, who will you be getting together for bragging buddy meeting number 1 and 2? And then you'll rotate. Everybody has had that opportunity together. Okay, so it's very straightforward. That's page 26, and that's short webinar number 13. We're going to go ahead now to lesson plan number 7, the Power Team Pioneers. So at this point, based on the material we just covered, you're in stage 3 of the Power Team development. And no more than 9 people. Okay, the scenario where you'd have 9 people would be 3 trios coming together. Pretty rare. Pretty rare. More than likely you've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 people, and then of course you can always pick up a few more duos or trios that are ready to go. But at this point you're at that stage, and now we're going to focus on integrating the new people into the process, and also, you know, what the ongoing meeting looks like and all that good stuff. So the goal, again, gain systematic visibility with your new Power Team partners. That's the whole point of it. Begin the boot camp meetings with the new people, and then participate in the planning meeting. Okay, and then the webinar is webinar number 14, the Power Team meeting agenda. And this is the ongoing meeting now. We just talked about the planning meeting, short little meeting to make sure everybody's on the same page. Now we're going to be getting into the ongoing meeting that is the lifeblood of the Power Team. Okay, so webinar number 14, bottom line here on the DVD is we do get into some discussion on integrating the new bragging buddies. And basically, I'll slow myself down and dig into that for a quick moment. You've gone through meeting number 1 with the 10 key questions with your initial bragging buddy. Meeting number 2 with the connector to creator worksheet. You guys have used your business card organizer, trigger questions, maybe reverse visibility where you've looked at each other's clients or sphere of influence, and maybe done an annual review, or at least an occasional review, where you've specifically, intentionally talked to folks asking trigger questions. In other words, level 2, situational, recognizing the 6 key situations and asking trigger questions. That requires you to recognize opportunity, recognize the 6 key situations, which gives you a head start that says, by golly, this is a referral opportunity. That's level 2. Level 4, where it's the annual review, or we can have fun with it and call it the occasional review. You can do that at any time, just asking people trigger questions that can uncover referral opportunities. So you've done that stuff, you've created referrals for your bragging buddy back and forth, and now you've identified another duo or trio that's done the same thing. You guys have said, let's form a power team. You had your little planning meeting that we just talked about. You have somebody who's going to run the group, and now you get together with these other people and you're going to run the Power Team meeting agenda. So if we had a drum roll, I'd say drum roll please, but can't quite be that dramatic. We'll go ahead and just kind of go through this. It's a very flexible agenda, and it can be emphasized at different points in the Power Team's growth process, different aspects of it. Basically, the Power Team is going to be meeting on a frequency that the Power Team itself has agreed on. I would recommend that early on, at least twice a month, maybe even every week, and then depending on, you know, the particulars, maybe at some point go to once a month. You can start at once a month. You won't be making as much progress. It's very much like why BNI meets weekly. Okay, same dynamics apply here. But once a month is better than never. Believe me, it'll make a big difference. So pick the frequency and kind of stick to it. You can adjust it though, but make sure that people will stick to it once it's set and be accountable to that. So the actual agenda itself is to review the Power Team Action Grid. Okay, now the Power Team Action Grid is something that we really haven't been emphasizing on our training yet. And in fact, we're going to skip over the Power Team Action Grid until next week. And so really the Power Team Action Grid kind of puts the meat on the bones, if you will, of the 10 levels of systematic visibility, and it approaches the same stuff from a different perspective. And as this meeting agenda, which is ongoing, plays itself out over time, that's where we now switch gears to look at this action grid that's going to be the roadmap going forward. Okay, but for the first time you get together, that really won't be where we're at. We're going to jump right in to level 2, reverse visibility, and then start identifying some of these open business categories. That's going to be the emphasis early as we look to grow the power team. Okay, so let's just look at the agenda items. You can review the Power Team Action Grid, which has all kinds of material there to help guide you in terms of what you can do to prepare, to promote, and to have group activity that will result in more referrals. Reverse visibility, the current client showcase. At this level right now, where the Power Team Pioneers are getting together for the first, second, or third time, this needs to be your focus. So make a note to yourself that first few of these Power Team meeting agendas, reverse visibility should be a big, big piece. It really is the low-hanging fruit that will be multiplying what you're already doing in your bragging buddy reverse visibility. And now looking at it as a group of 4, maybe 6 people, it's going to be a little bit time consuming, but it's going to be very, very powerful as you can really start to synergize some of the relationships that you might have seen in your bragging buddy reverse visibility sections. So number 2 is key early on. And then number 3, once we're generating referrals with number 2, number 3 becomes important. What are the strategically open business categories, either on the power team? Okay, these are people who might be in our BNI chapter already that we want to bring into the power team, or now we start shifting gears to the BNI chapter, open categories for the BNI chapter that we want to bring in. So open business categories can be in or out of the BNI chapter, and it becomes dynamic over time when we marry that to number 4, which is let's review visitors to the networking group meeting or to the BNI chapter meeting. As a power team, we're going to be enjoying the benefits of the ongoing flow of new people visiting the BNI group. We're going to be key players in inviting people. We're going to be leaders in converting visitors into submitted applications and members, and we're going to really be a leader all around in terms of visitors. But the piece we're looking at here at the Power Team agenda is closing visitors that have already shown up. Okay. Number 3 is who might we start inviting and be proactive to bring visitors to the group. But number 4 is all about closing the visitors that have shown up. And so we review visitors to the group. A, do they have a relevant product or service to our power team? And do we want to initiate a follow-up to recruit that person or not? It's not a given. It's not automatic that we're going to go after that person as a potential member for the BNI chapter, but if we think that there's value there, we will as a power team. And when we talk about inviting visitors, one of the key things that we do is we put you in the shoes of the visitor who's always asking, you know, can I make money with this group? And when a power team identifies an open category that they can make systematically visible, here's our plan, here's our strategy that we're using for each other, and we'd like to plug you in. Okay, here's how we're going to promote you. That's attractive, and that really increases your closing ratio. So the ongoing meetings, staying fresh over time, has some elements here that flow through as new people come and go and keep the power team dynamic. Number 5, spotlighting and brainstorming for a featured member. And this can be as simple as, what's your biggest challenge right now, using that trigger question. And then having a brainstorm session. And again, there's a lot of stuff on this agenda. You'll pick and allocate the appropriate amount of time for the strengths and challenges of your group. Okay, I'm just giving you the stuff that you can weave together to get the most out of your power team. And then finally, although there are countless numbers of things that could be on this agenda, but these are the 6 in my research that are the most important, is helping each other perform at the chapter level. And the power team report card and some of the other stuff that we'll have over the next 2 weeks really gets into best practices, not just for the power team itself, but to be a leader in the chapter as a power team networker. And so reviewing each other's Salesforce update, helping each other be better as we have 30 seconds or 60 seconds to address the group, to train the group on how to recognize our referral opportunities and how to brag about us. We can help each other be the best that we can be, and also we can coordinate and do some thematically uniformed presentations at the same meeting. So if you have 4, 6, or 8 people continuing on the same theme and being a visible power team, that can be a lot of fun and can also be very, very effective. So that completes my delivery of the material for webinar number 14 and lesson plan number 7.